Damien ruins horror movies.
What is going on? It's time for another episode of Damien Ruins Horror Movies. My name is Damien, in case you're new, and tonight we are doing Carnage Road. Sorry, this movie has two different, because this movie's on Tubi, and on Tubi it calls it Carnage, but then in the opening scene it shows Carnage Road. But Tubi has it Carnage, The Legend of Quiltface. So I don't really know what the fuck this movie's called. According to IMDb has it as Carnage Road, so I'm going to call it Carnage Road. Because that's nice and short, as much as I like having Quiltface in the title, because that's such a stupid name. Oh no, it's Quiltface. But before we go any further, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and all that fun stuff. And now let's just get right into it. It's directed by Massimiliano Cerci, I think, which sounds Italian to me. Italian. But there's nothing Italian about this movie. This movie is B as fuck, and it's something else. So, in the opening, we have a couple, and they're doing a little photo shoot in front of an abandoned house, and it's a guy and a girl, and he's going to film her, or he's going to take pictures of her. So she goes out and starts taking off her clothes, and it's like, I've said this before, how do these low-budget movies get these girls to take their clothes off? I don't understand. Like, how much did she make for this movie? Like $40? What does Tubi give her every time I watch this? Every time I watch that part. Every time I watch this movie. Because I probably watched this movie 3 times now. And it still doesn't, like, stick in my memory all the times it has. All the times I've seen it. It's like, what was it about? I remember what it was about, but I was like, each time I watch it, I'm like, oh, I forgot about this. Because not a lot happens, though. This movie's only an hour and 9 minutes. I definitely recommend watching it. This is one of those where I wish I could put lots of scenes from the movie, because me explaining is not going to capture, like, how shitty yet entertaining this film is. It looks like it was made at my high school in, like, media tech class. The only thing missing is the date at the bottom corner, like you see on America's Funniest Home Videos from the 90s. Except this movie is made in 2000. After their photo shoot, the guy pulls out like this shitty old bath towel, but it's huge. It's not a beach towel though. It's like looks like something in it's like a bigger version of what you would hang in your bathroom. And he lays it down, and the road is like almost gravel. And she lays down, and they start going at it. And then Quiltface appears with his machete, which already has blood on it, which is weird. It's like, why? Did they film the kill and then think, wait, maybe we should show him stalking them, and they just didn't wash the blood off? Because there's no reason why he should still have blood. It would look like fresh blood. It's not like, oh, I just killed some people over there, and now look, there's more people. I didn't get the impression that was going on. He just has blood on his machete already. It's weird. And then we hear the alarm go off. I don't know what time I'm assuming this is the same day. Because it turns out those two that got killed, well, I'll get to that. The alarm goes off. So I don't know how early those people at the photo shoot, the couple, were there. Because there was totally daylight. It looked kind of like the middle of the day. But now elsewhere, we meet Robert and Linda, who are waking up to an alarm clock. They don't want to get up, but they have to, because they got to go drive for a photo shoot too. Coincidence? No. They are college students, and they need extra credit. And so they're going out to the desert, the Nevada desert. The same place that the 2 people that just got killed. Their names were Sammy and Mick. So they eventually get out of bed, and their Uber driver, worst Uber driver ever. Granted, this does predate Uber by at least 10 years, I'd say. I don't know when Uber started, but it was probably 2010, right? Let's go with that. That sounds good to me. Good enough. It's a deal that doesn't matter. Their driver sucks. It's a guy in a white van. Not like a creep van. It's like a minivan. And he picks them up. And then they go pick up two more people. Mike and Amy. Mike is the nerd who is just ridiculous. And Amy is your typical slasher movie bitch. Basically, I mean, for lack of a better term, that's the best way I can describe her. She's that I'm too good for everything, blah, blah, blah. And so her and Mike are hanging out waiting for them, and they couldn't be more opposite. But Mike still has like a little thing for her and thinks like he can get her, which he can't. Once everybody's in the van, the driver starts telling them the legend of Quiltface. Kind of, it's not really much of a legend. It's like this ugly guy kills people and cuts off their faces and makes masks out of them. It makes a mask out of them, which is like, oh, that's pretty original. Name's Quiltface, which it took me a while to realize, because that's how dumb I am. Because I'm so used to Leatherface, and I'm just used to that. But it's like quilt. Oh, I get it, because he sews faces together like a quilt, and that's why it's got like 3 noses and 2 ears, and it actually sounds stupid, but the mask actually doesn't look that bad. It kind of looks bad for like a movie, but like if you saw it at Spirit of Halloween, you might be like, or Spirit Halloween, not of Halloween. If you saw it at Spirit Halloween, you might be like, oh wow, that mask looks kind of cool in the movie. And you gotta remember also, this whole movie takes place in broad daylight, so I wonder if they made it look grainy just to hide, kind of like what I do with my videos. I'm trying to hide shit. That's why some of them are, I don't know, I don't like it when it just looks normal. The driver drops them off at the spot, says he'll be back about 8 o'clock. And so the 4 of them start scoping out the area. They're kind of wondering where Sammy and Mick are, but they wander around, and I don't know what they were playing. Like, it looked like Sammy and Mick actually had a plan. And these guys are just like, they're not even near, because Sammy and Mick were near a house. And they had like scenery that they could pose around. These guys are just in the middle of the desert, just like, oh, sure is hot. They look like they're stranded. I mean, technically they are, but they look like they're accidentally stranded. They're just like, I don't think they pulled out a camera once. And as they mill around, like, Mike can see Quiltface in the distance. So it's almost weird, like it's his imagination. Or like they've been there so long that now he's seeing mirages and he's dying for water. Which, these guys are in the desert. None of them brought any. They have like no equipment with them, really. It's like, oh, nobody thought to bring water? Which never becomes an issue. But it's like, you guys don't really have shit. I think they probably have a camera with them. And like, that's it. They probably have one between the 4 of them. Or maybe the other dude was supposed to have it all. I don't know. But the driver's van breaks down, and he gets all pissed off about it. And it's really weird and goofy. The driver's just weird. And there's this weird, like, 70s sounding harp every time something happens. It's like something amazing just happened, but like nothing has happened. And it makes that sound like every 3 minutes. It's like, and they walk around a little bit. Mike gets tired. So he's like, I'm gonna wait right here while you guys go look for a place to shoot or whatever. So they're like, okay. And even though Mike's like the only one, see, I don't remember this time around. I don't remember seeing Mike get killed. So I'm not sure if they actually show him get killed, because at this point, because you think Mike's the one seeing them. So for one, you would think Mike wouldn't want to separate. It's like for me, if I'm like, man, I'm tired, but I saw a killer. Oh well, I'm gonna take a nap. Or I'm going to take a rest. You guys go on without me, even though there's a killer out there, and you guys probably don't believe me. So he waits anyway, and they continue to walk, and Quiltface goes after them. So I don't know. I think we do see Mike again. There's like a snake that scares him. But Quiltface gets Amy, and Linda and Robert escape. They want to try and find the van, but Linda thinks maybe the driver's Quiltface. Maybe he's not just a harbinger. Maybe he's the murderer and he's setting him up. Because it did kind of work like clockwork. I'm going to drop you off there and there's a killer out there. Usually if somebody tells you a legend, you're probably not going to see that killer like within the hour. but they see him like pretty immediately. It's like, oh, whoa, what a coincidence. He told us about a killer, and now we're running from a killer. Quiltface takes Amy back to his house and kills her. And actually, considering like how B this movie is, it's in broad daylight. The kills actually don't look that bad. They're not awesome, but they're not bad. Considering what they were working with, they look pretty decent. And then we go back to Robert and Linda, and Robert starts having a meltdown. He can't take all this pressure. And he sucks at running, but eventually they hug it out. Then they walk a little bit more, and then they run into Quiltface again. So Robert calls out Quiltface. He's like, come on. He makes all these so that Linda can escape, because he's got to be the man. He gets whacked in the head with a machete, with Quiltface's machete. And then Quiltface goes after Linda, and Quiltface sucks at walking. Everybody's got some weird quirk in this. When they walk, it's like, I don't know, it's like, but even though he sucks at walking, he catches up with Linda, and she like offers him money. She's like, here's some money, just go away. And he starts eating it. So then she flashes up her skirt and makes a run for it, but he catches her and sticks her in her side. But it turns out Robert is still alive. The whack to the head with a machete didn't kill him. Oh, it's just a flesh wound. So he goes walking back, trying to find out what happened to Linda. And at this point, I'm not sure if he's like genuinely concerned about her, or if he's just trying to do a shitty Jonathan Davis impression. But he comes to a camper, and there's an old dude inside. The old dude's been lurking throughout the movie all along. I just haven't mentioned him yet. Looks like a character from Devil's Rejects, even though this movie predates that. And he talks to the old man. He's still freaking out, crying. And the old man knows all about Quiltface. And says this is where all the victims end up. But Quiltface has never bothered him. But then Quiltface shows up. And the old guy just looks at him. He's like, hey, get out of here before I open a can of whoop ass on you. So Quiltface leaves. And then Robert asks if he can get a ride to town. And the old man says, well, no problem. I was planning to go downtown anyway because I got to pick up some shit paper. I first saw this movie, it's probably about 2 years ago now. I have been calling toilet paper shit paper ever since. I think that's the only good thing I got out of this movie. But then out of nowhere, he leads Robert to the greenhouse at gunpoint. And there's a girl, I can't tell which girl is in there. I can't tell if it's Amy or Linda. Because this movie's 1 minute they're dead, next minute they're not. But Quiltface and this old guy are definitely working together. Robert makes a run for it. But Quiltface catches up with him, and when he wakes up, he's hanging in the shed by his wrists. But not very well. It's pretty janky. And when Quiltface goes to get a saw, Robert escapes. Like, with minimal effort. And he makes a run for it again. And then Quiltface comes back and finds out, and he throws a little temper tantrum. But eventually Quiltface catches up with Robert, because Robert sucks at running. But Robert takes him out. Because it turns out Quiltface is kind of a bitch. And then Robert walks, well, more like he stumbles, because he can't really run well or walk. And it's not because he's injured. He never could. And he's not handicapped. I don't know what his problem is. But he walks, and eventually he finds the van, and the driver's sleeping inside. So he wakes him up. The van works, and they drive away. And they just drive for a while, and it looks like the shittiest horror movie ending ever. And the driver pulls over because he has to take a shit. And Robert's in the back seat sleeping, so he doesn't hear the driver off screen get killed. And who sticks their head in? Good old Quiltface. How the fuck did Quiltface catch up to them? He's on foot. And he sucks at walking, but he caught him. He catches up, kills the driver, and old Robert's sleeping in the back seat. And now it's time for the real shitty ending, because Quiltface gets in the driver's seat, drives off. The end. What the fuck? It's only an hour and 9 minutes. Watch this movie. Because it's so... I mean, I've seen better bad movies, but this one's still pretty good. The Badass Award goes to Robert, I guess, even though he cried for most of the movie and didn't really save anyone, and didn't actually kill Quiltface, or even really slow him down. What did we learn?
Survival tales.
Listen when people warn you about trouble instead of just immediately dismissing it. If you're trying to escape, don't argue. Worry about your problems later and just get out of there. Don't pull over to take a dump. That's kind of... I shouldn't have to say that. That's it, guys. I tried to keep it short and sweet this week. I don't remember what I was going to say. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next week. Till then, I don't know, go watch some horror movies. And if you see anything good, let me know. Yeah, let me know what's up. I want to watch some stuff too. I mean, not that I can't find movies for myself, but you know what I mean. I like hearing from you guys. See you next time.